Okay, hello. So it's me, Pete, from Garblag Games here. I've got my isolation haircut sorted, so I'm all good. Um, Welcome to our in the UK late night stream, and probably a fairly good time for everyone in the US. Unfortunately, our European friends will be past midnight, but we are here to have a bit of an impromptu session, but hopefully the first of a small series of videos that I want to do around world building, my setting, talk a bit about Pathfinder as we play it, because that's the system. So I've got the nice Pathfinder book here, second edition, which we've had one session, and so far I'm very much enjoying it. We will be talking about the world mountain setting, which I'll go into in a bit, and you can see a few bits and bobs on the screen there in Incarnate. We're talking about Incarnate and the recent update, which has been pretty cool, and a few other bits in between. Now, before we get into it, please don't forget after the stream to go and check out all our social media. Facebook, Twitter, Insta, all that stuff. We've got various things being shared on there, and news of all of our videos comes out there first. Also, please go and pop out of the chat for a second and whack like and maybe subscribe to the channel if you like what you see. And also, we have a Discord and a Patreon with some lovely people who support us and make all of this possible. All the kit we've got, all the gear, the licenses for software, etc., all comes from our patrons. Now, I've got my phone just down here, which has got the chat on, so I can see that. So, hello to Scott, Kren, Ease, and Egil. I hope I'm pronouncing everyone's names correctly. Thank you for joining me. I thought I'd take you through bit about the world mountain setting, and then we can have a look at some of the maps I've created in Incarnate. And I'm going to start. My goal is I want to start a proper world map and one of the layers of Arlorn. So the world mountain setting, which I was originally devised for Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition. However, recently I got my hands on, as I said, Pathfinder 2, and I have been enjoying reading it, and we had our first session on the channel on Thursday night, UK time. It was a bit delayed. We wanted to start about 9, but as always, technical difficulties, setting up, and small children don't all kind of combine very well. Hence why I'm doing it at this time in the UK as well. It's 11:15 here in the evening. Anyway, I got my hands on Pathfinder 2, and I thought, you know what, I actually want to. I don't really know Galarian, the setting for Pathfinder, and it's not something that's got as many defined worlds built for it. So I thought, you know what, I will tailor the world mountain setting to Pathfinder 2 instead of D&D 5th edition, which, to be honest, it's kind of you're getting lost in a huge amount of stuff, And if I ever wanted this to be, I will sort of self-publish, as it were, through my Patreon, and the patrons will be getting copies of these maps and PDFs of setting information. I want it to be something that's useful and different. And I think for Pathfinder players out there who don't necessarily want to use Galarian, they have to do a bit of converting. It's not huge amounts of converting, obviously, but Pathfinder 2nd edition has diverged away from D&D 5th edition mechanically. So, there is a bit more of a conversion that would need to be done to take Wildmount and put it into Pathfinder 2, for example. So where do we begin? So the World Mountain. I, as a massive fan of the Planescape setting for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons Second Edition, I thought that at the time that it was just a phenomenal idea, taking all of those planes of existence and giving you access to them. The things that had been the goals of long-term adventures had become the kind of everyday, and the weird and the wonderful and the sigil, the city, and all of that stuff was amazing. However, whenever I tried to explain Planescape to people, it was always one of those difficult, oh, it's all these infinite worlds stacked on top of and inside of each other, and this one's this alignment and that one's that alignment, and some people don't really like alignment, so I was looking for some halfway house kind of setting. How could I bring planes of existence together in something that was slightly more traditional? And I ended up, I think this is the right, oh no, not that one, sorry, doodling this in a book, which I think I've got over here somewhere. It was just an idea, a giant floating mountain with kind of layers. I think layers is the word I've kind of set on, where each one is a different type of biome or habitat or world. And I mean, you can see I've put in here like normal world, forested, alpine plates, ice, and this is really the initial thought behind this whole setting. I was just like, oh, a world mountain, that would be quite fun. You got lava at the bottom, ice at the top. Each layer is as big as a world itself, but laying flat. And yeah, so then I started to make a few notes around what each of those layers could look like, and that image eventually became this, which is my side view of the world mountain itself. And you can see now that I've tried my best to sort of jazz it up a bit art wise, and I've given names to things and started to kind of create some idea of the biomes and the habitats. So you've got, the idea is that this Arlorn, which is this central realm, the realm it's called, is pretty much the same size as your Kryn, Toril, Forgotten Realms or Dragonlance kind of world. It's an Earth-sized world, but laying flat, and in slightly off center of it, there's a dirty great mountain that's coming up from the bottom through, and you can see it, and you can see the layer above you, and each of these layers has slightly different biomes. So just below Arlorn, you've got Udril, which is the Underdark. I was trying to find a way to be kind of inclusive of a lot of the things you find in these books. I've always found that settings are always like, this is my setting, but there are no this, or you can't do that, or this is, and I've done that, and I like, occasionally it's fun to be like humans only, or all the elves are dead because I don't like elves, and all that kind of thing. But this one, I was trying to be sort of inclusive of everything and say, how could I create something that, if they bring out a new book with some more races or ancestries or classes or whatever, you could just throw them all in as well. So that was kind of my challenge to myself. Let's try and accept everything. Now, obviously, that was originally looking at D&D 5th edition and saying, how do I take Xanathar's and all the other books? How do I take all of those extras and feed those in? And I'd actually started going through all the classes and the subclasses and not doing anything mechanical, but just saying, this is the kind of character that would represent that in this world. And that, in and of itself, just doing that exercise was sort of like 10 pages of stuff, just like, which is really good exercise for like fleshing out the world, like just to sit down and think, what is a druid, a moon druid, of this type, circle of the moon? What is that in this world? How does that fit in? So what I'm going to be trying to do is doing a similar thing with Pathfinder, and all of the specialties and the kind of they're not subclasses as they were, and they don't all have them. So fighters don't really have them. You kind of build up a type of fighter just from the feats and skill feats and other elements that you have. But like alchemists, you have bombers, chirurgeons, mutagenists. Where do they train? Where are they specially found? All that kind of stuff. So I'm going to be doing a lot of that. That will come into it, and I've already got lots of good ideas from. Obviously, there are some crossover between D&D 5th edition and Pathfinder 2. So yes, there's all of these layers. So this is a bit of a stream of consciousness, by the way, if you hadn't guessed. So there will be slight rambling. So I'm just getting used to this is a bit shorter than I normally have it, but needs must. So I'll tell you what, I'll go through all the layers from top to bottom. So we've got Harlig, which is an icy it's like a giant floating iceberg, where there are kind of nomadic people moving around, and in the center of it there's a giant ice kind of crag cavern where Imbix Alphiax, who is kind of this evil dragon, ice dragon, is kind of sitting up there, sending minions down, constantly trying to attack the lower levels. Then the Sky Islands of Yanath basically is it's kind of alpine Nordic steppe style land. It's all sort of bravery and honor and those kind of cultures, and they're the first line of defense against things coming down from Harlig. There's on the top of the mountain there's a city called Yondengrid, which is where the giants live, and they and various other races obviously, and they're defending against Harlig at the top. Glorim is basically the Fey realm. It's verdant, overgrown, jungle, forest, that kind of thing. However, there's also the flip side, the corrupted side, the giant spiders, the undead, the webs, the creeping mold, the infection, that kind of side of it. And there is, that's where the undead have come from. It's kind of juxtaposition to the kind of verdant life of that place. Arlorn is the realm, and that's a fairly standard. There's all different kinds of cultures. There's some hot parts, some cold parts. That kind of thing. The sun goes around the world mountain in the ether beyond, and on Arlorn you can the sun obviously goes all the way around. You can get the sun on you, but you can see Glorium above, and on Glorium you can see the Sky Islands of Yanath. They're very high up, but you can see them, and you can like get an airship and fly there if you've got wings or magical powers. You can even just climb up through the world mountain. There are tunnels and catacomb, honeycomb kind of corridors through it, tunnels through it, that you can kind of go up. It's very difficult and very treacherous. Beneath that you've got Udril, which is the Underdark, so it's under the overhang. Arlorn is sitting over the top of it. It can't really see the sun, so it's darker there, and consequently things are more dangerous. And this is kind of your Underdark that you're probably familiar with. And then at the bottom you have Zadumir, which is the deep, and there's kind of lava from the base. And here there is an encircling fortress called the Mechanolith that goes all the way around the world mountain. It's damaged in some places, but there are basically the dwarves, who are the first race in this setting, built this big fortress. Yeah, as Egil's put, I'm guessing that this is a don't ask about the physics kind of world. There are dragons. It's magic. Hey, it's cool. Um, yeah, don't ask about the physics. It's it's a crazy world. And in Zadomir, there's like hordes of devils and demons and monsters and creatures and dragons, all rowing up, filing up to attack the Mechanolith and try to get into the World Mountain and in up above. There's lots of powers and gods and exalted heroes who are now the deities of the world, and various ones on different worlds. But I think I'll leave that for now and think more about maps and images. But that is where we've got to now. What I want to do is start to think about Arlorn as that's the realm in there, and I've got some rough views and ideas on the different continents that I want to have on there, but maybe not the sense of scale just yet. And what I ended up with was kind of a kind of bit of a map, bit of a rough outline. This is just to start to have a think, and some of the names have changed and some of the bits will have changed, but the idea was to have a the world mountain in the middle, slightly off center, so that you have some warmer parts than others. I was thinking, if it's just the world mountain's in the middle and the sun is orbiting around, I need it to be slightly off-centered for there to be some variation between the different continents in this strange physics world. Egil, yes, indeed, the physics are slightly weird. But there is a series of islands all around the world mountain, which is kind of covered in Everest-sized mountains itself, sort of a ringing around the base of it, and then sort of dotted up the flanks of it. You've got these islands around it, and then you've got larger continents, and then the scale on here isn't very well shown, but then further out there's kind of an encircling mountainous ring that goes all the way around, and that stops everything from falling off the edge. You can sail all the way to those mountains, and in fact there is one city which is called Kesben, which you can see bottom right. This is a city that's been set up as a kind of astrological observatory that looks out. It's got lots of kind of telescopes and things poking out into the ether beyond to try and see what's going on out there. That's a place of great magic and things. So Egil's asking, so Pathfinder 2nd edition, the rules are found in the online online SRD. Yes, they are. You can go and have a look at the online SRD. Sorry, just wet my whistle there slightly with a little bit of I've got a companion for the evening. You can indeed, and the good thing about the Pathfinder stuff, like many games these days, is you've got the open gaming license right in the back there, so you can have a look at that. So I'm hoping that I will be able to publish some of my materials, and I also have a pro license for Inkarnate, so anything that I create there I can actually put into products commercially, and I can also give them away on my Patreon therefore, so that's pretty handy. So what I was going to take you through was some of the maps I've already made, and then kind of see what time it was, really, and see if we start a new map in Incarnate. And I thought, bit of chat about the world, bit bit of showing Incarnate, probably good. So I will switch over. So I'll turn this one off. Now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop over to my maps. Now, as I said before, I'm very interested in this. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Here we go. I'm going to put this on and I'm going to shrink that down because, oh, not that one. Here we go. Here we go. Right, let's bring that down into this corner just as a little reminder. There we go. So we've got that. I mean, it's not hugely visible, but at least it gives us a little reminder of what's going on. So what I've got is I have various components. Now, what I've found was I started making this when I didn't have a pro license. I just had the free license, and to be fair, the free license is great. What you can do with the free license is fantastic. You can do some awesome stuff. And then just recently, I got back into Incarnate when, obviously, at the time of recording, this is in the middle of the coronavirus, COVID-19 outbreak in March 2020. So we would normally be filming in a studio, my converted garage, but studio all the same. But obviously, due to social distancing, we can't really do that. So what we've been doing is getting online, like lots of people, and as I've mentioned earlier on, Thursday just gone, we've just started a new Pathfinder campaign in the World Mountain setting, and we'll be doing that every Thursday night on the channel, going forward for the foreseeable future until COVID-19, the outbreak ends and we're all allowed to go out of our houses. So I made a couple extra maps, and what I thought I'd do is just take you through a few of those now to show you what I've done and what you can do in Incarnate. So you see I made this ages ago. Here we go. So loading our little map. So this was the largest continent. So this is the Western continent. This is some parts of this I'm still building and still figuring out. Oh, it's done something. It's changed some of the fonts, I think. But so this was going to be effectively this was going to be the main continent of the world, and one that characters would probably spend most of their time or start from. And there are various elements that are key. I'm just trying to see what you can see when I'm what's going on with my cursor. Okay, yes, you can see that. Okay, so the idea was we've got the world mountain, which is called Ondrum. So Ondrum is a few things. Ondrum is the world mountain, but it's also the god who built the world. And the idea is that he manifested as this mountain and became the world, and the dwarves built the layers out of their body, and it gives life to everyone. So it is a mountain, it is a deity, it is a god all at the same time. So Ondrum is there, and you can see this kind of encircling ring of mountains. What's cool on this is, I don't know if anyone's used this before, but we've got various commands down the side. You can select things. You can do a mask. I like to think it is. I mean, the shovel is quite good. It's like digging. This is for the world, so you can go in and go. You know what? I'm going to add some land. Oh, that's large. You've got lots of tools and toggles, so you can add in different shapes. So you can add to the grid blocks, which in this one I've got hexagons. And this is the size of this circle that you can see on the screen. So if I do that, that makes a bit of land that big, you see. And then what you can do is go, oh, you know what, I'm going to turn that down a bit and do a bit out the side. And it, it's got funky algorithms in there, sort of smoothing things out for you. You can then at the same time go, let's subtract, and you know what, I'm going to take that right down, and I'm going to create a, river or bay, in the main entrance. Maybe then there's a town, where the river ends, etc. Or you can go, oh, I've made a massive mistake. Let's just remove that. So I like to think that's like one of those games like Populous or some sort of civilization games where you can raise and lower land and all that kind of stuff. It's quite fun. The world domination part of my brain enjoys that. Then you've got your brushes, and your brushes are the textures of the land. And what you can see on here is I have got Inkarnate 1.0, which is like a new update for, I think it's for pro users. And you can bring in different elements. Let's turn that one off. Fantasy World, Land Orange, Grass Mixed, Grass 3, Water Blue, and it's got various different things in here that you can do. Ice. How many ices have they got? They've got 10 ices. Look at that. That's pretty handy. Parchment World. So you can make maps that are a bit more parchment based, and then Fantasy Regional Classic. But we've got this regional high definition. This is the current new one. And basically what this means is if I create some land like so, what I can do is I can then paint that land with a different texture, and I can pick up my grass and I can go, yeah, give me some grass, and now it's green. Or I can get one of those funky ice things and I can go, you know what, there's an icy northern ice cap. So it's pretty straightforward from that perspective. You then just go in here and go, I want to subtract, and you just go like that. It's pretty cool. And that's what I've done to create all of these shapes. I tell you what, my only bugbear with this is the zooming in and out and panning stuff. It's kind of yeah. But anyway, so then down the side you also have then your stamp tool. Now stamps are the things, the stuff on the world. So all the mountains, all the trees, all of the hills, all of the on this one I haven't put any buildings. I've just put these symbols pointing out where there are major cities. But on some of the other ones you'll be able to see how that's worked. So that's fairly straightforward. You go in here and there's a huge, now if you've got I tell you what, let's put it on Regional Classic because that's probably more what you'd get in the free version. You got some different types of mountains. You got some buildings. Here be dragons, which is always handy. And you've got so much of these kind of icon style. So if you want to make sort of a parchment map with different tones, you can, and you can place things like that. Or you can go for like, I want proper windmills, and like there's a city. These I assume you can put near a mountain, and it seems to look relevant. Kren has just asked a question: are there tools, textures, items from more contemporary settings, or is it based firmly in a medieval fantasy trope? It is based firmly in a medieval fantasy trope. There is a yeah, no, it is. Yeah, you've got like different races, but definitely fantasy. So you got elven stuff, dwarven, what do they call this? Desert, and then jungle, and then eastern, um, and then dark citadel. Oh, that's good. That sounds good, doesn't it? And then recently they added in haunted buildings, which look cool just for like dilapidated structures as well. And then you got a bunch of like banners and compasses and all that kind of stuff. But then when you go into, let me try Parchment World, see what's going on in Parchment World. See here, it's all just icons that you can use. Mountains, and you can try and create something that has more of a drawn look to it, which is pretty cool. Here we go. Let's have a look at some of the other ones. Fantasy World, slightly less detailed. These look a bit like those Parchment ones, but coloured in. Some of them. Oh, Elven Tower. Oh, I like some of these. Human Capital. I didn't see these ones the other day. I was going to have some orc buildings. Yep. And then ships. I like to put the odd boat in the sea, just to remind people that you can sail boats on the sea. Oh, heraldry. That's quite cool. So I think they've got shields up here, haven't they? Yeah, blank shields. So then you can maybe put heraldry on. You could put that in each of your countries or areas. Let's have a look. Alex Moss, would be cool if you could click on a city on the world map and then go into a map of that, if that makes sense. That does make sense, like nested maps, so that you could like transition from one to the other and say, right, or like a region. That would be quite a cool thing. That you're starting to get into kind of campaign world management system, and I think there are some other products out there that do that. The stream is choppy. Same here, me too. The stream is choppy for me too. I was about to ask if others were getting the same. Upstream connection on his bandwidth then. Oh, well, that's a bit weird. I have apologies for plugged in. That should be fairly straightforward. There we go. Hopefully I've still got excellent connection, and you guys should see that fairly shortly. Sorry about that. That was an unfortunate little bit there. What I need to do is get a long cable so I can plug this thing in directly every time I do this, because I think having Incarnate open at the same time as having everything else running is just obviously a lot of a demand on the machine. So it's just trying to figure it out, and it's doing a good job. But as usual, this is Garblag Games. We have the odd technical difficulty, but we get there in the end. Well, I'm going to try again to look at one of these maps. It's maybe the case. Just been given the warning again. Not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Okay. Well, it's a bit of a failed experiment. This is a shame. So can you see and hear me at this current stage? Please let me know in the chat if you can. YouTube's telling me one thing. My phone is telling me another. Hopefully there's someone still around after all these shenanigans to let me know if it seems to be working okay. While we wait, I'm going to try and load up another map. Here we go. Let's have a look. Let's go back into this one. See if this will work. Maybe, maybe not. Who knows? This is the fun of impromptu streams. Okay. Let's have a look. So, the campaign, just going to go into this one briefly and then go over to one of the other ones. Yep, 5x5 video and audio is okay here. Excellent. Right, let's go. So, we have the main continent, and I want to zoom in on this area here. So, between the region known as Lair Dryer, one thing you will get slightly annoyed about is what's in front of what. And if you can see on the right here, we've got all this stuff. You've got the number next to it that shows you what rank it's in. So there's 5 or 4 or 1, it seems. Yes, but on my other maps it's slightly better done. So the elven capital of Feniriath is here. The orc and greenskin city of Erobag is here, and then Parkranen is here, which is a human city to the north of these realms over here. Nalos, Erelos, and the neutral city of Morastabar in between. Now, Erobag is kind of like a city where a load of orcs, goblins, hobgoblins, etc., who were originally subjugated by Braktagar and on the islands of Gomar, Zemrion, and can't remember the last one off the top of my head. Basically, Gomar's now free, but still has frequent attacks from Braktagar, and the various people wanted to go and settle on the mainland, so they've built this city called Erobag. Now, I wanted the story to start in this area, sort of like this this kind of area here. So what I've done is created a. Unfortunately, this is where clicking onto this map here, and which would then take you to another map, would be a great idea. But it doesn't. What I can do, however, is I can just go over. I just cannot help it. That city sounds like Airbag to me. Yeah, it's an orc town. It's not going to sound like a sensible name, is it? It's Erubag. Erubag. Basically, I then created a zoomed in view for that area so that we could see what was going on in. Basically, the goal is to have something in roll 20. Don't know whether you've seen the episode, but this map, let's have a look, of the campaign. So this is the campaign map. This is a zoomed in area, and I went a bit isometric crazy with these zoomed in areas. And yeah, so what you can see is Ledrya, which is kind of snowy mountains, and you've got the Feniriath, which is the capital here. What's quite cool is with your here we go, come on. Okay, let's do text. With your text, obviously you can move it around and position it, bring it above things, move it into the right thing, pick your style. So there's lots of different text styles, Amarante is the one I went for the sort of general, naming big areas of the land, the Rimwood Wilds, Ledgewire. Opacity, rotation, but you can also rotate it by just gripping the wheel and spinning it around, which is handy. And you can obviously make it bigger or smaller there, or change your font size. But then also you have your curvature, so you can curve your words, which is quite cool. I think and you can just type that in 6, I think it was on. Spacing allows you to move the words if you're covering a larger area, and you want to sort of spread it out. And yeah, line height, alignment, etc. So all the font things. Scott can definitely see the stream starting to segregate a bit when you're moving between stuff in Incarnate. Yeah, I think it's probably because it's all browser based. We're having the challenge of trying to use the bandwidth for using Incarnate at the same time as showing you guys what's going on, which is annoying. But hopefully it's giving you a bit of an idea, even if slightly wobbly. Not segregate, degrading, bloody autocorrect lol. Well, segregate's probably not, it's chopping it up and it's making it difficult for you to understand what's going on. What I did was I wanted to pepper it with a few interesting locations that people with an eagle eye might spot and think, oh, maybe we could go over there and investigate what's going on over there. I deliberately haven't named lots of things in here because as the game goes, I'm actually going to add more stuff to this map and then use that. The video is starting to lag. Okay, audio is clear and unbuffering. Well, I won't be starting a new map then. Let's put it that way. But hopefully, this is giving you guys a bit of an idea of the World Mountain setting and what's going on in it. And I will be looking at my bandwidth and ringing my internet provider. However, at the moment, it's probably not the easiest time to get things sorted out. So you can do little things like I put a little boat on here with a little dotted line from Erebag to Pargranan to represent that there's a trade route across the sea there. Things like that. These little ice crystals dotted in there, and these are all things in the stamp options. So it's there's loads of and what's good is it gives you a little recently used options. So if you're like, oh, hang on, I forgot to stick another ice crystal down, that's there for you and ready to go. You can do all kinds of different things. It shows you what's coming up and how many different types of crystals. So you'll click and put one crystal down and then it'll change for the second one and the third one and the fourth one, and here there's 8 different crystals. It's good. It gives you a little spread, makes it look, it's not just they're all the same crystal. I mean, some of these things like the jungle tower is the same no matter what it is, but like deciduous trees gives you there's a variety of them. So as you start peppering your landscape, there are different trees. It gives a good look, which is pretty cool. Text, I showed you a bit about text. Path, that was the lines that I showed you there earlier on. We got the notes, so you can put a note on different parts. There are no notes yet. It's time to add some. And then you've got your grid tool, and you can have isometric squares, regular squares, or hexagons. I wanted isometric hexagons, but they don't have that. So I went for isometric squares. And while I was building this, I was thinking, hang on, the first session of new Pathfinder game, what I want to do is I want to have a bit of a combat so that I can get people into the social segregation, YouTube degradation. I like it, Eggle. Very good. Well, I can only apologise for my crap internet. Something I need to sort out. But I thought since we haven't played this before, that a combat would be a useful thing to do. And I had a particular encounter in mind, and I'd been on the Facebook groups and stuff to talk about, how good the encounter guidelines are in the game, and it was actually pretty good. If you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it. But I thought, you know what? These isometric squares are giving me an idea. When I made this map, I thought, how about I make a isometric battle map? Normally in Roll20, and it's kind of going against some of the things that Roll20 itself is built for. It's based on a grid, a top-down grid. There's dynamic lighting and all kinds of things going on. But I thought with a little bit of guidance for the players, we could quite easily have an isometric battle mat, and that is what, I don't want to save that. That is what I created. Episode 1 ISO battle map. And this is a little ruined area that the party were approaching to camp in. And when they approached, they discovered some hobgoblins were there. But it's quite cool. We were quite able to use it for a battle map, even though there's some depth things, and obviously this has just then creates an image that I've uploaded into Roll20, so there's no depth there, so you can't sort of move behind one of those walls properly. We just had to kind of between us agree with what was where and who was behind what, but it all worked pretty fine. And in fact, I think top-down maps are great, and the traditional thing, I've drawn many myself. I very much enjoy drawing maps. Isometric maps for battle are quite interesting, and this actually kind of evoked the old Baldur's Gate and game, Neverwinter Nights and all that kind of thing for me. So I was thinking, oh, this is quite cool. This is like, a bit of a computer game style view of it. So I was quite enjoying that actually, and I think the guys, guys enjoyed it as well, and it looks good. Not because of the way I've built it, but because the quality of the image that the software produces. Let's have a look. Scott McNeil, so combat's always good to get people up to speed on a new rule set. Exactly. When 90% of the rules are about combat, as most of the feats in these games, Pathfinder and D&D and all that kind of thing, most of it's about combat. I thought best to get people up to speed with a bit of a battle, with some terrain, some interesting things going on. So we had a bit of athletics and acrobatics. People were trying to intimidate. There was healing, there was fighting, there was failed spells, all kinds of stuff going on. It was good. It was a good battle. And I thought that put it to the test really well, actually. This map is available on our Patreon, so you can head over to the Patreon now and actually get both of those maps, all three of those maps even. The continent in our primer document, the campaign map, and this battle map. And I'll be producing more of these kinds of things, because I think I'm going to try and do, are the shadows on the map auto-generated, or can you move the light source? Oh, now you're talking. I'm not sure, to be honest. That's a very good question. I doubt it. I think it's going to be auto-generated, but I will have a look at some point. No. Okay, cool. Yeah, unfortunately not. It looks like Scott. I think it's just auto-generated. But that was fine. It just gave that sense of depth, so it looked pretty cool. And in fact, add image. Here we go. I'm just going to bring up the. I've got a screen grab of what it looked like. Here you go. This is what the game actually looked like once we'd compiled it all into OBS with zoom, call elements, and the map in Roll20. So you can see we're managing the rolls and the initiative and the kind of hit point tracking and everything as you do in Roll20. And I'm also doing a bit of a Holly impression from Red Dwarf, where he's just my disembodied head, and Ben is looking a bit freaky there. But yeah, it was a really good session actually. I think everyone had a lot of fun, and I didn't go too much into the world in that one because we started late, so we only had about an hour and a half, and I didn't want to talk for 45 minutes about the world and then not do not much for 45 minutes. So there was a brief preamble, but then it was sort of into the action, learn the rules a bit, and the guys, I think most of us have now got the rule book, so we're all learning our feats and skills and everything, and I'm learning all the other bits and bobs. So it worked pretty well. Next session is on Thursday night, 9 p.m. UK time, which we're about to change our clocks, so we are springing forward. So that'll be fun, and we'll be live, and the guys will be exploring into that region of the campaign map that we saw earlier on. So that looks like it's working pretty well. So that's cool. Let's go back from there. Yeah, back to that. How's the stream doing? Seems to be okay, even though I'm getting a warning. It seems to be working at the moment. Let's have a look. Well, I was going to take you into a new map and see if we can do that. Let's have a look. New map. Fantasy World. Oh, look at that. That looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Oh, I like that. It's quite cool. Excuse me, a little bit tired. Okay, let's go for a. I'm going to go for a square because I want a big round disc. So it might as well be a square map. Should I? Yeah, why not? It's just going to be a. And then what you do is you start going, hey, let's build a continent. I'm going to zoom in on this continent, and I'm going to bring the size of my tool down, and I'm going to add a little few oddities to creep out of it, and then I'm going to have no, let's go even narrower. Here we go. You want to just like cut some little holes, and oh, hello, no, that's why. I want to switch to the circle. That rough circle is kind of a slightly random, uneven shape, but if you do this one, then it still kind of roughens it a bit for you, and you can start to trim into your little island. And then what we'll do is we'll go GM question start. If you're sorry, this is Kren. Got a little question for me. GM question start. If your players suddenly veer off from the expected path and go to an area you haven't mapped or pre-generated using a tool like this, do you try and throw together a quick graphic and delay the game slightly, or do you just rely on description and narrative? In that situation, I'd just go for description and narrative, and probably refer just to the campaign. I mean, I've deliberately started them pretty much in the middle of the campaign map, so it'll take them a while to get off it. But yeah, would go with description and narrative, and kind of step into that. What I intend to do is build a few maps that are sort of like on a path in the woods, near a building, kind of fairly generic maps, battle maps that I could kind of whip out if required. I also think there's a way I can build dungeon maps in it, which would be pretty cool. So yeah, no, good question, Kren. Let's have a look. Right, we've got the brush. I'm going to change this to let's have a look. What do we want? Brown grass. That's not very nice, is it? Should we do something that's cold? Should we go for? Can we go for ice? What's quite cool is it's like, a little bit faded, but I'm just going to go. Let's just go all over it. Let's see how it looks with a couple of mountains on. See if we can get some icy mountains. It's too icy, isn't it? Here we go. Adjust texture. No. Let's find something else. Here we go. Let's just go with boring old grass. Tell you what. Whack the width up. There you go. Just take that sucker out with some grass. Let's get some mountains going on. Let's get like, whoa. Now that is a big mountain. You can see I'm on a world map, so it's kind of, we're going to end up with something sort of like that. And you can see that as you place them, it's cycling through different styles, different looking mountains. Quite quickly you start to look at it and go, this is starting to look pretty cool. I'm a fan of hills around the base of my mountains. Sometimes can't see it. That's too small. Look at that. It's tiny. So you can just go in, and with all of these things, you can, there's hotkeys. I'm quite far from my keyboard at the moment, so I'm just going to do that. But let's go back to here, and let's get my hills. Make them slightly bigger. Remember, it's like proportions don't always have to be 100%, and you can just hold down the mouse and be like, put me hills, put me hills, put me hills, like that, which is pretty crazy. I'm generally a bit more. Let's place them a bit. Let's delete that. And yeah, let's put a hill there. And then we can have a river coming out from one of the mountains. V-shaped valley starts to meander. Boom. Now that's a bit. There you go. Give them a bit of an inlet. And you can just add back in, if you don't like the end of where it sits, and you start to build up a view of, here's a area that we want to explore. Let's get some trees going on. Obviously trees are not this big, but there's no point putting real size trees on there. You will be there forever. So you start to do this, and then clearly I'm kind of doing this a bit haphazardly right now, just to give you an example. like this Disney castle. You know, and you could then go, aha. Now, do you want to go Civ style and have like massive cities on, or would you put points on like I had on previous ones? But you know, you've got your city, and you know, let's give it a slightly more august script and make it bigger, and we need to have that. No, it doesn't look. That writing doesn't look good. Bam, Utopia. And yeah, so you can see how you can start to use Incarnate to start to build something up. This is a pretty crappy little island, but that's just to give you an idea of how you can build it. There we go. So hopefully that's been slightly interesting. And apart from the massive hold up halfway through, you guys are still with me and still able to see what's going on. Right, cool, excellent. Yeah, so the World Mountain, I'm going to be expanding on it and trying to share that as much as I can. Let me get my let me get the file open and I can show you. There we go. Add window. Okay, right. And here is the document. Let me tell you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to turn off the Incarnate now. That's hopefully that giving you a good view of Incarnate and how I've been using it. Now is there now there is a grand name for a city, indeed. So let's turn that off. And oh, hello. Turn that one off. There we go. You don't want my YouTube feed showing you there. This is document that is free on the Patreon right now, and what this incorporates is overview of the world mountain, talks about the different layers, what planes of other planes of existence they might be tied to, or kind of, if you're looking, I've done this because if you're looking at things like a monster manual, it might give you minions that would live on the elemental plane of ice, then they're acceptable to be on Harlig, for example. Those kinds of Incarnate has definitely come on a long way since the last time I looked at it. Yeah, they're constantly improving it, and it's an impressive bit of kit. I do want to try out Wonder Draft as well. I haven't tried that yet, and there's lots of people doing really cool stuff with that. But for now, it's a colourful, good-looking mapping system that I can do different things with, and use, because I've got the Pro license, I can use it pretty much as I see fit. Thank you for your comment there, Scott. So we go through each of the layers, talking about the pantheon in each of those as well. So this is Udril the Underdark. The pantheon of Udril is consumed with the hatred and jealousy of those above on Arlon, who have, in their eyes, usurped the greatest layer, and by creating the citadel Strondumir, sealed off passage through the World Mountain. Maytalin, the hobgoblin god, is the most successful of the Udril pantheon, having made his way into the heart of many on Arlon. He sponsors revenge, murder, tyranny, and control, and unfortunately finds it rife amongst those among most of the layers of the world mountain. The nation known as Braktagar on Arlon was created in his honor. So, this gives you a bit of a feel of the vibe of the layers and what's going on. Zadumir the Deep, ever the Mechanolith has stood, the mountain encircling fortress that keeps the dark and evil things of Zadumir at bay. Udriel may harbour creatures of darkness and foul intention, but Zadumir contains demons, devils, and dragons that are hell bent on storming Ondrum, defiling the mountain and subjugating the higher layers under their will. A land of lava flows, active volcanoes, molten iron, and great craggy castles and redoubts. There is little here like any other layer. Although Serikron's light, that's the power that is the sun, does not reach here, the light from the fires breathed into the world by Thuthrox, which is the big devil possessed dragon that's like the big bad guy, gives a perpetual hellish red glow. It is by this light that never-ending war rages around the foot of the world mountain. So there's like a army constantly defending the world mountain from these kind of Thuthrox is a devil-possessed red dragon overlord of the hellish minions of Zadumir. It represents hate, anger, destruction, and purest evil. All those that worship are its slave and march against the forces of good around the mountain. Thuthrox would burn the entire world given the chance. So I've tried to put a bit of, like grand scale. This is heroic fantasy, big fantasy. It's not sort of grim dark stuff. This is pretty big. So we've got like themes. One of the main themes is that Metallan is kind of coming up through the world mountain and to Arlon to really challenge and has kind of pushed back Strondumir halfway through the world mountain and made some progress. I've got a little short story in there as well about why orcs and goblins are plying trade down at the market these days. Why do orcs crew many of the ships pulling into harbour? Well, it's a long story. Sit down, pass me that ale, and I'll tell you. And then it goes into, it's a bit about Braktagar and the attack into the world mountain. Oh, I feel like I need to sneeze. And then we've got a little map. And then it's going to go into ancestries with their heritages and potentially additional heritages, which is kind of a sub-race in D&D terms, for the setting specific. And then it's going to go into each of the classes and their specifics and how that all fits in. And then there's going to be the Pantheon section, which will go into the domains and powers that each of the gods gives to their worshippers. So that's really, which one is that? That's that one. There we go. Cool. Okay. So hopefully that's given you a bit of a taster of Ondrum. It's given me a few thoughts about how to do impromptu live streams whilst using Inkarnate because of the bandwidth. Hopefully it wasn't too frustrating for you when it had to drop out for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever it was. But yeah, hopefully that gives you a bit of information about Ondrum, the World Mountain. I'm going to be doing a few more videos around Pathfinder. I'll try and do Incarnate again, although it does look like it's going to be tricky. So it may be that I create some maps in Incarnate and then I bring them in to put them up for you to have a look at, like I did with that screen grab, to talk about them rather than live edit too much without a super duper broadband connection. That's kind of stream suicide. Okay, cool. Anyway. Eves. Okay, bye. Thank you for joining us. Oh no, Egil getting quite late here. Oh, he's Egil signing off. Egil, see you later. Thank you for joining us. I know it's late there in Norway. Anyway, I'm pretty much going to end it now anyway. So I'd just like to say thank you for joining me for this impromptu stream. It's been fun. Hopefully you guys found it interesting. A bit about Incarnate, bit about the World Mountain, touched vaguely on Pathfinder, and I'm sure all these things will explore more as I do more of these kind of videos. If you guys have any questions, or you're watching this back after the live stream and there's anything you wanted to know about, just pop it in the comments below and I'll get back to you. Don't forget to like and subscribe as well if you are new to the channel. Maybe our recent Pathfinder stream has brought you to us. If that's the case, then welcome. And check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're Garblag Games everywhere. No one else has got that name. Kren, was it definitely bandwidth, or was your CPU being taxed? You're probably right, actually. It may have been the CPU, because my computer started humming violently and got really hot. So yeah, I'm trying to do more of these videos and share a bit more, because everyone's, it's a difficult time for everyone. We're all sort of isolated, on lockdown in various countries, and a bit of conversation, a bit of chat, even if it's me prattling on about my settings and our games. Hopefully, a bit of the hobby can cheer people up and raise spirits a little bit. We're all in this together, and whatever I can do to help, I will try to do that. So hopefully our games will entertain you, and these kinds of videos will be interesting for you, and you can fire questions at me if you want. Head over to the Patreon, because even if you don't sign up, there's loads of free stuff. Just go and check it out. And if you you can't sign up at the moment, that's fine. Just give us a like somewhere, share one of our videos, like a tweet, comment on a Facebook post or whatever. All of those things help us to get the message out to more people. We're approaching 2,000 subscribers, which is going to be amazing. I remember having 50 subscribers on the channel. It's come a long way. So I'm really pleased with how this is all going. The team who support me are absolutely amazing. They're all doing a great job, and everyone's kind of jumping on with headsets and stuff to keep the channel going while we can't be in the studio. So that's really cool. But yeah, anyway. It's very much agree. We've moved to running our Shadowrun games over Discord, which makes things interesting. I bet it does. I bet it does. It can be challenging. Although running Pathfinder 2 on Roll20, I think is good, because a lot of the mechanics and numbers are done for you. I think the character sheet is one of the things that puts people off the game. It's a really nice game though. The 3-action combat system is, I think, a really good addition, and it looks like it's got lots of flavor and stuff in there, and we're going to really get into it as we go. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I will hopefully give a bit more notice next time as to when I'll be streaming, but we will be live on Thursday night from 9 p.m. UK time, with the second episode of Tears of the Dreamer, which is our Pathfinder 2 campaign, which we've just started. And very soon, Ben will also be running a Mage the Ascension game on the channel, which I believe Egil might be playing in, one of our patrons joining in. And yeah, Ben's running that one. We'll see how that goes, and then I will be trying to do a few more impromptu streams like this to share more of what's going on behind the scenes and all of our games and worlds and things. If there's any topics that people want to talk about on these streams, then please do jump onto our Discord, so that you can pop any questions on there that you want to. Anyway, I will leave it there. I'm going to read Kren's technical advice shortly after this stream. But thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Garblag Games.